Hey guys, Chris here. In today's video, I'm going to tell you the 7 things I hate about the Mercedes EQS SUV. Well, hate may be a strong word, dislike may be a little bit more accurate, and if you think I hate this car, I absolutely don't. I love this car. I've driven it so many times and I actually have a video with 8 things I love about this car if you think I really do hate this. So I'm making this video a little bit more for fun, and at this point, we're nitpicking because this is a great car. But if you want to check out the 8 things I love about this car, there will be a link in the description box down below. The first thing I hate about the Mercedes EQS SUV is the exterior styling. And again, hate is a very strong exaggeration. To be real, it's more like dislike or don't like or prefer something else. But throughout the video, I'm going to use hate because that is the title of the video, and it maybe illustrates the point a little bit harsher than, well, if I didn't use that. And as a saying, the exterior design of this car is something I don't like. It's boring, it's bland, and compared to other big and luxurious Mercedes cars, it just lacks personality and presence. My friend Volvo Christian put it really nicely. It's like, it's not majestic at all. It's just a big car, and of course, because it is a big car, it does have some presence because compared to other things on the road, it's just going to be big. You're going to notice it, even in this boring paint color with these boring wheels. But other than that, it's just a little bit bland, and that makes it less desirable. And this should be super desirable at this price point, being, you know, the top of the line electric Mercedes. I just think that they really missed an opportunity to make something really luxurious, desirable, and something unique. I mean, compare this to something like the GLS SUV, which has so much presence, especially when you equip that with, you know, an AMG styling package and some really nice wheels. This just doesn't have any of that. Park this next to a GLS AMG or something, and that really, you know, hits the point home how boring, bland, and uninspiring this car is. And at this price point, it's just not good enough. I've talked about this already many times in Mercedes videos and reviews, and that is the Hyperscreen. Ooh, fancy. It's not fancy. It's a huge piece of glass here, which does look really nice, and then the screen part are actually 3 separate screens, one there, one in the middle, and then one for the driver. And it sounds more fancy than it looks. And in practice, sitting here, you can see that like almost a third of the screen is obstructed by the steering wheel here in the center console. And at that point, it's like, what's the point? What's the point in having a screen that, you know, extends all the way behind, you know, your switchgear here, when you can't even see it from where you're sitting and driving as a driver? This doesn't make a lot of sense. And also, it makes the dashboard really high. This car, you can have it with, or not this car, you can have the 450, the model below, with the normal screen, which comes up like this. And then you have wood trim or other trim there on the dashboard. And then you have a separate screen here, which also doesn't, you know, you don't have this big canopy. It's just more like a screen tacked on, giving you better visibility. The visibility part isn't the worst in this SUV because you're sitting high, but in something like the EQS sedan or the EQE sedan, the Hyperscreen is just really tall, and it makes the whole cabin feel more claustrophobic than it is. It does a little bit of that here, but mostly what I don't like is just these 3 screens and just how this looks. Because as you can see here, I don't know if the camera's catching it, but it catches a lot of dust. And then you have glass, which is with a black background instead of, you know, nice wood trim. It just doesn't feel as luxurious. And it's also, there's no functionality to it being this big. These cars with the normal screen works just as fine, even better, because you're able to see more of the screen from where you sit. Before I tell you guys the rest of the things I hate about the Mercedes EQS SUV, I just want to give a huge thanks to today's video sponsor, Recharge, which is the largest charge point operator in the Nordic countries with more than 4,000 charging points across Norway, Sweden, and Finland. They've been upgrading updating and also building a lot of charging stations lately. So if you recently checked out their charging map and you're like, oh, there's no charger close to where I live, check it again today, because they may just have built a charger close to you, because they're always expanding their network, being the largest in the Nordic countries. So again, a huge thanks to Recharge for sponsoring today's video. This version of MBUX, and MBUX in general, isn't my favorite infotainment system, and this version isn't my favorite version. I think other Mercedes with more hard buttons for climate, for other shortcuts, is better and easier to use. I talked about some really good features in my previous video, 8 things I love about the Mercedes EQS, so if you want to find out what that is, go check that video out. And even though this infotainment system has some really good features, in general, it's not my favorite. Not even close. And that is because even though it does a lot of things really good, it does a lot of things really, really bad. So if you want to start driving and you want to turn off aids like lane keep assist and also your speed warning, which I do because in this car it's audible, you have to press this button down here on this panel. And now it reacts, but most of the times you have to press it several times before it reacts. And then sometimes when you start it when the car's cold, it'll take like 3 or 4 minutes before you can have this menu. And usually when you start the car, this is on and also this is on. So you'll drive for the first few hundred meters with lane keep assist on and the car chiming at you if you're going 1 kilometer above the speed limit, which is just annoying. You're not able to turn that off right away. And then you're like, oh, maybe I can like press this to collapse it, because this is the button to bring it up. And then if I press it again, it goes away like in a lot of other infotainment systems. But no, in this car, you have to press back or you press there, which is just why. I just want to press the same button to bring up the menu, to drop down the menu. It's just annoying. And also, like, if you want to do things like adjust your seats, your lumbar support, you have to go in here, and then you have to go to seat, and then you have to do lumbar support, and then you have a graph, instead of just having like a switch on the door here with the rest of the buttons, or a switch down here next to this seat. Like simple things, and then it takes all of the real estate. So I was riding here with a passenger earlier, and we're navigating to his place because I'm going to drive him home after having a coffee. And then he's like, oh, can I try the massage? And I'm like, sure, you can try the massage. But it occupies all of the map real estate. Why is that necessary with such a big screen? It's just, I don't know. A lot of things just don't make a lot of sense with this infotainment system, and it's just annoying. We're still sitting here in the driver's seat talking about things around the driver's zone. And the next thing I want to talk about is interior quality. I've talked about this so many times in EQS and EQS SUV videos. These cars are supposed to be top of the line from one of the, you know, most expensive and exclusive luxury brands there is out there, you know, excluding Ferraris and supercars and hypercars and stuff like that, really expensive stuff. But like, this car is expensive. We're gonna get back to that at the end of the video, because that's actually my last thing I hate about this car. But you know, this is supposed to be the best from Mercedes, and in a lot of ways it's really nice in here. Like the sense of occasion, the way it looks, the ambient lighting, it's a luxury car. Every time people step into this car, they're like, wow, this is really nice. But if this isn't your first rodeo and not your first luxury car, and after spending a few minutes in this car, you start to see that not everything is cherry. Take a look at this, guy. So this is the airbag cover in the top of the line electric SUV from Mercedes, and hard touch plastics. Hard touch plastics. This also cheap plastics. I mean, what gives? That is just not good enough in a car at this price point. Also, this is faux leather. This is Napa leather. This feels really nice. And also, you know, some of the buttons just feel a little bit cheap. This is a strange operation where this is like touch. Yeah. And also, this is pretty nice, and this is stitched. But overall, like, the interior quality is nice, but it's not like 3 times as nice as something you would find in a Mercedes EQC. And talking about that brings me to my next point, and that is the lack of upgrades and options. I mean, yes, I talked about this being an expensive car, but that's not a problem in of itself. The real problem with this being expensive is that the quality is lacking. And that wouldn't be a problem if you could pay money to have this in Napa leather and stitch, because you can do that in other lesser Mercedes. If you could have this in really nice leather, maybe you could customize the stitching, maybe you could have another color here. Just the lack of upgradability combined with this already an expensive car, like it's expensive. I drive an expensive car myself, and at that price point, you want to spend a little bit more money to get that ultimate luxury feeling. That's not even available here. This car doesn't have soft closed doors. You can have that in a Chinese Hongqi EHS9 that is almost half the price of this. This has a very good Burmester sound system, but it's the entry-level Burmester sound system in something like a GLS or an S-Class with 700 something watts of power, and it's really good for having those numbers, but you can get better sound systems in other Mercedes. It's not even an option here. Fabric headliner. Why can't I option this in Alcantara or leather? Why are these plastic? Why are these nasty? I mean, it's not good enough. And if you were able to upgrade it, I wouldn't complain. But the fact that you're going to spend this much money on this expensive car and you're not even able to upgrade, I don't understand the logic there, because it's available on other less expensive Mercedes. Okay, last thing about the driver's zone, because there's a lot of things about the driver's zone I don't like about this car, and that is the center console. So when this is closed, it looks pretty nice. I like this wood here, top notch. But when you open it up and it wants to stay back, okay, let's see if that works. Okay, Mercedes quality. What? There we go. It only took like 4 or 5 tries. So this zone here is big. Like at first glance, you're like, oh, this is really nice. I'm gonna take away my trash there. This looks really nice. You have storage here, room for sunglasses and cup holders. But other than that, it's like a really useless space, because there's no zones. If you want to like leave your phone here and not on this charging pad, you just want to leave it here, there's nowhere to like really place it. And everything is nasty plastics. Look at this. Look at the tracks here. It's just not nice. And again, in a car this expensive, this isn't good enough. It's not thought out at all. I don't understand what happened here, because when it's closed, it looks nasty. You can't do much with this space. If you have things here, everything just flies around. And then you close it up, it looks really nice. Yeah. I don't understand. I really don't understand the center console situation in this car. If you've made it this far, you may be thinking, hey Chris, you're a crybaby, you're so spoiled. What are you talking about? The Mercedes EQS SUV is the best and the greatest electric car ever made. And in a lot of ways, that is a true statement. But my last point, the last thing I hate about this may just change your opinion, and you may be a little bit more sympathetic with all my criticism, and that is the price of this car, because this has to be the most expensive electric car out there on the market. So the EQS starting price is already very expensive. The EQS 580 is even more expensive than that, but this car with all the bells and whistles equipped this way is 1,924,000 kroners, which is 200,000 euros. It's more than $200,000, this car. And it looks like this, and it has these flaws. I mean, do you understand now? Like, if you're spending this much money on a car, you don't want a plastic airbag cover. You don't want cheap switchgear. You don't want nasty cup holders. You want the nicest of the nicest. I mean, for this money, even in Norway, with our taxation systems that favor electric cars and penalize everything else, you can get a Range Rover, the new Range Rover Hybrid, for the same money as this car. And that is a much nicer car to look at. It has a superior interior that is so much nicer. Even the Range Rover Sport has a nicer interior than this, and which is cheaper. I mean, it's a smaller car, but that just puts it into perspective, like how expensive this thing is. So the last thing I hate about this car is just how expensive it is. It's just stupid money. So guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please drop me a thumbs up down below, and for more car content, as always, please subscribe. See you guys later, and goodbye.